Hi everyone, this is Hamza from Outcast Solutions. My guest today has had one of the more unique career runs I've come across. He started out writing about football and cricket in Karachi, and he moved to the other side of the world with no local experience and no network and started again from nothing. He spent the best part of 7 years running operations across 4 countries, and today he's on the Gold Coast running customer success at an AI company that answers the phone for Australian tradies. He's also, as of recently, standing in the middle of a cricket field as an umpire, which honestly might be the most interesting job on that list. I should say upfront, I have known him since school, so he's not getting the easy version of this. Salman, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me today, Hamza. Really appreciate the kind words. And yeah, really excited to be here to talk a little bit more about what I've gone through.
Great. Amazing. So, Salman, let's start off a little bit about the initial phases of your career. I want to start with every because I think it's one of those initial stages, and to me, I think it's very useful as far as career trajectory and career progression is concerned. This was your first startup. You were there for about 7 months. So zoom out for me, like forget the specifics of that one company. At that stage, what actually kills a business?
Yeah. So there are obviously many things to learn from it, Hamza. Uh, and just to be clear, with this startup, it was my friend's idea. He actually invited me into the team. He already had an idea, and we were working on it. So we went into it. It was a software app, and of course, working on it. That this is back in what 2015. So a long time ago, where technology wasn't as advanced as it is today. So yeah, it was a fun experience. But you're like the only thing is that you just learn from these experiences. There's a lot of things that fail a business, and I think 90% startups they do fail, but you learn a lot from it, and it it ranges from so many things to firstly the product itself, how the product is behaving, then the market accepting that product. If you're trying to be ahead of the curve, it's hard to convince other people to really join your product, to use your product, and then trying to find the clients as well to come on it. We had a marketplace product, so we had to try to find clients as well, and then also promote it to the market as well. So it's a tough space to be in. Then another thing is the type of people you're working with, your co-founders and others. Everyone has a different style of working, so you have to adapt to that. And that is one of the key things, I think, because when you are working in a startup, you basically, if you don't have any experience, and I went into it fresh out of uni. I just did one internship before I started working on that startup. So it's a very like intense period where you're going from a 2 week group project to now actually working 40 to 50 hours a week with a few people. So that's another thing as well. So sometimes personalities clash, and it just doesn't work out in that way. And then the final thing is timing as well. Like it's just with what timing of the product is it at that time. Like what maybe I feel like if we had tried that product 2 years later, it would have done great. But then yeah, all of these factors count in, and few other small factors as well. But I think that kind of makes or breaks the startup.
Let me make it a little more personal than that. What did you learn about yourself in that phase of time? Obviously, it was your first experience, and failure is inevitable. 95% rate, that's understandable. But there are certain things that we learn out of engaging with people, engaging with other personalities, characters, or like you said, there's so many factors. It's a very intense period. So, is there any lesson out there that you'd like to share that you sort of carried out forward in your career from there?
Yeah, I think like two major things that I learned. One would be that how to deal with different people, like different personalities. That I think that really helped me because um, if someone has a different style of working, doesn't necessarily mean it's wrong. It's just I have to adapt to that style. So that was the key learning for me. Second thing I learned about myself was I do enjoy a bit of everything. Like I'm not that guy that I'm just going to zoom in on one thing and just like get obsessed with it. I'm actually someone that enjoys all aspects of it. Like, to be fair, my background, I did my bachelor's in
Yeah.
business administration from CBM, but it was in finance. But I went into marketing because when I went into the finance, although I love studying finance and accounting, but when I went into a real-time role, I was a bit bored with what they were doing on a day-to-day. So then in startup, I got to be looking at the numbers, accounts, and finance side of it, the marketing, sales, even the tech side of it. How is it being worked? So I enjoyed all of it, and I think at that point I realized I can be a good all-rounder because
Yeah.
if I do understand everything, I can try to be, I can try to contribute in every department.
Great. So that ends, and then inside about a year, you've moved your entire life from Karachi to Queensland. What actually made you go?
Yeah, to be fair, I give in entire credit of my move to my brother. My elder brother, he pushed me to go. He obviously was ahead of time to understand that Pakistan is going through a turmoil, political and economical. So he kind of his thing was you should go and get international degree that will give you good exposure. Honestly, when I had that conversation with him, I wasn't that keen. But then we had a handshake deal that I'm gonna try on this startup, and if it goes through, great. Like I'll keep working on it. But if I feel like nah, it's not going through, I'll be honest with him, and then I'm going to go to. He just wanted me to go anywhere outside for exposure. So yeah, so then when every wasn't looking like it's gonna take off, I applied for Australia, and again it was a thing that he said you can go and study and then decide what you want to do. But of course, when you come on to this side of the world, and I'm in Gold Coast, which is 1 hour away from Brisbane, it's a beautiful place, and yeah, I'm just very lucky to be here. I can't count my blessings to be here.
Amazing. So, comparing Karachi and Gold Coast, I'm pretty sure there must have been some things that you had to unlearn because we come with certain backgrounds or we come with certain preconceived notions about how the world works. So, I mean, you can take it where, however you want to take it. It could be how the business gets done or reading a room, the small talk, how direct people are there versus back home. What did you have to unlearn?
Yeah, no, it's a big cultural shock when you get here. Honestly speaking, it in a good way though. But yeah, of course, everyone knows the Aussie slang. Like trying to understand that just in a day to day as well. People use that a lot. So when you get into it, it's trying to learn. Although it's English, like we studied in English in Pakistan, so yeah, language wasn't any barrier. But just the style, the culture, the way people talk, the way companies are. It's everything is in a good way though. Like yeah, you work hard, you get rewarded. It's a very transparent culture. It's a culture here that is promoting work-life balance as well, which I love. At 5 p.m., even your boss would shut down their computer. So you kind of like love that, and then you get used to it. Yeah, so those were the things I had to learn. But honestly, everything was for the positive. Like it's just to have that open mind to understand that things would have worked in a different way in Pakistan. So be open, and I came in with a very open mind. And again, I've traveled before with family, so I've seen different cultures. So I thankfully I had that to rely on. So when I came here, I had some family here as well. So my cousin here, so I got a little bit of guidance on that end as well. So all of that really added up for me n- for that transition phase. It wasn't the toughest.
Great. So, Salman, we're going to be talking about Sophie a little bit in detail, but before that, for our viewers, let's talk about what you're doing now because this is a part I actually sort of wanted us to focus on your current project with Sophie, your role.
Yeah, so I work in Sophie AI as head of customer success. So Sophie AI is a AI receptionist company initially that started off as AI receptionist company for tradies, but there was a phase when not just tradies, everyone kind of jumped on to that on the platform. But in the last 1 year, I joined 1 year ago. I think it'll be 1 year for me, probably in a couple of days. So the company, the owners of the company decided to build a platform that is leaning more towards tradies rather than everyone else, like rather than trying to cater all the industries. So now it's a AI office manager, which is basically there to reduce your admin work from receptionist, from chasing up invoices, sending quotes, and booking jobs in your calendar. All of that is something that Sophie AI has the capability to do. And I'm the one that is talking to the customers, helping them set up, and also providing ongoing support to them.
And we're gonna get back on treaties in a little bit. And I know your your title doesn't justify your exact sort of role because your title says head of customer success, and I know you've been wearing a lot more hats than that. I want to understand what do you actually do on a Monday? Where's the gap between the title and the job?
Yeah, it's like Hamza, in a startup culture, you can't just be doing what is in your title. You have to be looking into all departments. You have to see um, where because the source of like for me, I'm on the front end, right? Like, but there's so many things going on in the back end that you have to be involved in as well. So if you're talking about the product, for example, yep, you have to be giving constant feedback to the product team and the engineers that what is required on the front end for the customer, and that's a big thing. So in constant communication with the product team, trying to make them understand the importance of a feature that may look very minute to them, but is extremely big for the customer. Whereas from their side, product side, they are engineers, so they're focused on building it, but they sometimes don't see the real world consequences of something, and that is my responsibility to pass it along to the product team. Then from the sales team, being in constant communication with them. I'm always trying to support the sales team because if there's no sales, there's no customers. So they're a very important team. So they come through, but then to guide them as well to not say the wrong things so that if they are saying the wrong things, customers come in with the wrong perception of the product and they are expecting it to do something that it doesn't, and that then increases your churn. So always to have that good communication with the sales team. Even sometimes I'm doing trainings for them on key things that's going on that customers are saying, and I kind of detect a pattern. So telling them, just a few word changes in your pitch or in your communication style can actually ease a lot of burden on the customer success team. But that's just before even the customer has come on. This is all the things that I'm thinking of. And then when the customer is on, then there's another battlefield altogether, which is, the product itself, the bugs, anything going down, the server going down. Although Sophie, our engineering team is outstanding, and we ensure there are no shortcomings, there's no outages. But of course, when you're in this day and age, you're relying so much on third party that you can have ups and downs, but all of that then is just on the battlefield. You're talking to the customer, you're seeing how they use it, you're trying to explain them how to use it better. And Monday can honestly start with anything. It can start with a customer phone call at 9 o'clock who's just angry, or it can start with just looking at the tickets that have come in. It can start by looking at the release of the product and trying to understand what new features have been added and how I can learn them better so that I can communicate that better. So it just in a startup environment, and Sophie AI is a very fast moving startup. We call it a rocket because it moves at the speed of rocket. So yeah, it can be anything. But yeah, that's kind of an overview of what how it can be in a day for me.
So based on my understanding, your onboarding, your support, your sort of like the channel for product feedback. You also have a huge role in expansion. You're also doing QA. Uh, which of those hats, do you think fits you the worst, and which one has sort of surprised you? Because once we're like when we get our hands dirty, there are certain roles that sort of surprise us. Oh, I didn't know I was this good at this, and there are
Mhm.
certain roles that you thought they might be exciting or interesting, but they really aren't that much of.
Yeah, I mean, there's always aspects to it. You know, I, c- of course, you're wearing certain hats at some time of in your role. So I wouldn't say that my all most of my time is spent with what I've told you about. Of course, it varies based on the needs, but if I had to look into it, I think my what I did enjoy in this 1 year, what I do enjoy is working with the product team to understand what's the foundation of building a feature and what's the process. So I work very closely with my head of product, and it's always great to know what he's thinking about. Why is he building a feature? What's the rationale behind it? What's the research? And and because I try to understand how he's thinking, it helps my thinking process as well. And I've felt like I've improved um, in 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 doing research and in understanding how to build a product and what steps are needed to actually build something and what are the consequences of it, what is the opportunity cost of it. All of that is so important. So that type of thing I really enjoy. I think I still need to learn a lot more in that, but that's something I found out I really do enjoy. um, thing that wasn't that glamorous, I think, is sometimes just the just the back end of it, right? Like just to make sure the subscriptions are running all right. The amount they want to get charged is okay. It's in AUD, or this is plus GST, or this wasn't. So do a refund, do a credit. All of that can get a bit cumbersome. There's not a lot of AI things that you would want to be touching your accounting software or Stripe. That's where we work, right? So um, it's something you have to do, and then customers have their. We work with tradies, right? So tradies can be a little bit all over the place. So they sometimes don't understand the subscription model. So you just have to always adjust all these pricing and dollar amounts that can be a bit boring part of my day.
Salman, I want to ask you about something specific. Not long after you joined, Sophie shipped autonomous setup, which lets customer configure and train the AI themselves without your team actually touching it. So that's basically a chunk of your own function that has been, in a way, shipped on your watch. So were you for it or against it internally?
Nah, now for it, Hamza, because the thing is that as an AI company, we are AI first. So anything that the AI can help with setting up, with onboarding, that's something we want, right? Like, because gone are the times of having big teams and, like a big customer service center in Philippines or someplace. We have AI, so we have to leverage AI. We are an AI company. We're only 2 years old, but with help of AI, we've been able to expand very quickly. Of course, you do feel a little bit of hesitation with the way things have worked in the past 15, 20 years. It's changing so quickly, it's evolving so quickly that you do feel nervous. You do think about yourself, about what you will be doing. But the thing is that like everything, like into 2000s when internet came, everyone freaked out. Everyone thought, oh, what is this? A yellow pages freaked out, and they said, oh, this is going to take my job, this is going to do this, that. But it also creates jobs, right? And that's my understanding overall of AI, that yeah, you have to be for it because it's going to be part of daily life, and it
Right.
is. At least now in Australia, I can see that, and it will probably trickle down in the next few years to everywhere, where it'll just become part of your daily routine. So, but then that will, you know, bring in more jobs, more different type of roles, more roles that require building. So that's pretty good. I think I was for it. Only thing that my input was on how the process is set up, because we we have a self onboarding thing that is pretty good, but is it easy enough that a tradie could do it? That's the question, right? So those are the questions that we ask ourselves before we try to ship anything that is AI. So what you're saying, the train Sophie functionality that we brought previously, we would ask them what is their prompts, we would put them in. Now we've got a train Sophie function, which has evolved into another thing now, but they put in what they want their agent to say, so they are in control. So if you look at it from a customer support point of view, there's already that, for them to call us, that need has now reduced. So, and that's what we are aiming towards, like that for them to need to go to human, like for it to be as less as possible. And the way to do that would be to provide a platform that where they are in control and they are in charge, and then teach them how to use that platform.
From a standpoint of a 2-year-old startup or 2-year-old company that has sort of like come out of infancy, what are you actually measured on? Retention, activation, expansion? The reason I ask this is for my understanding, like, is there like a number that decides whether the company or the startup has had a good quarter? What are the metrics?
Yeah, absolutely. The numbers, we are measuring our ARR, and that's what we are going on. But at the end of the day, it's number of active subscriptions, right? So, number of active subscriptions is what we look at and what we really want to be increasing. Churn, trying to reduce churn, that's a major thing as well. We do have a sales team. You can probably see sales team having fun behind me. They had a good day. So they we do have a sales team, but we also wanting more product-led growth where people are self-serve and signing up as well. So all of these things, we do have plans for the next few quarters. We do have a target to reach for ARR, and we have actions for those plans. Um, in terms of our subscription pricing, Sophie actually does monthly subscription. We don't do lock-in contracts because we believe that our product is strong enough that it doesn't need for anyone to be locked in for a year or 6 months. So it's a month by month contract, and that's it. You sign up and you can cancel anytime. Which of course, we are confident of the product, so we need to make sure the product stays up to scratch so that it becomes a part of people's life rather than an optional service like Netflix or anything which they can disable anytime. So yeah, so retention and all, of course, these facts come in when you've got these yearly contracts that are renewing and you want to renew them again, and all of those things. It's a little bit different here because we are playing it month by month, and we're just hoping the product is sticky enough that people stay. Um, but all of these things that I mentioned is important for us. Getting them activated very quickly. So we've got a head of activation as well, who is making sure that their onboarding is done quicker, they're going live quicker, they're using their Sophie agent, they're hooking it up to their phones quicker, they're using our internal agent to um, do quoting and invoicing quicker. So the quicker they start using it, the quicker they start adopting it, the more stickier it will become in their day-to-day routine, and that's the overlying goal of the company.
So, let's talk about your customer because I think people underestimate how hard this sell is because your customer is a plumber, a sparky, and he is someone whose phone is like the business. If the phone doesn't get answered, or you know, they're really depending on that. They don't eat, and you're asking them to sort of hand that to AI or hand that to a machine. So what's the real objection, and what actually closes them, or what actually convinces them to subscribe to Sophie?
That's a good question. We've got a solid sales team, and with both of our founders, Jacob and Luke. they've got a very solid sales background. So if you hear our sales team, it's amazing the magic that they do. But it's usually around, okay, because tradies are in such demand in Australia, you wouldn't know it, right? And they earn very good money. So they're in such demand that you just have to call, like, once you are on the phone with them, you ask them, all right, how many calls do you miss in a day? It's like 10 calls you miss in a day. All right. What is the average job worth? And they'll say $800, right? So then $800, you're missing 10 calls at prospective around $8,000 worth of jobs that you lost because you didn't pick up the call because the person went to the next plumber or next sparky. So with Sophie, all your calls get picked up because it's a AI receptionist. It picks up 24/7, and it can take those job details. And if you want, it can link to your calendar and it can book it into your calendar. It can hook up to your calendar, Google or Outlook, and book it in. So, and then what's the cost benefit analysis? Sophie's only for $300 a month, and that's $8,000 you're missing a day. So it's no rocket science that you want you rather than it going to a voicemail, which pretty much no one uses anymore. No one leaves a voicemail, and if most voicemails that you reach are usually full anyway. So rather than that, it can go to a AI receptionist that is hooked up to your calendar and can book jobs in, or it can take the inquiry in. And I even tell them that, if it is taking the inquiry, it's not booking it in, and you get the exact details of where the customer is, what their exact requirement is. When you call them back, you don't have to have a chat from scratch with them. You know exactly what they want, and you can give them an exact price instantly. And that callback to book a job in, which was probably 10, 15 minutes before, can be 5 minutes now. And that's saving you time as well. So it's definitely a win-win. It's more of a case of, are their customers all right with it in using AI? And you're right, like it's a tough sell as well because this is a service-based business. And how
Yeah.
do you build a service-based business? By building your relationships, by managing contacts, by actually talking to people. So all of a sudden they don't want to give that sort of face of the company to another company and like tell Sophie to be taking their calls. So that's why we do demos, that's why we show them how their agent is going to sound and all. And usually because Sophie does a really good job, they do sign up because they do see the benefits of it.
Now, this is a bit I sort of find hard to get my head around because your product is non-deterministic. I mean, and this is not just Sophie. This is for a lot of voice agents that I'm seeing these days. Different answers. You can't test every conversation because there's an infinite number of them. So how do you like quality control on something like that?
Yeah, that's a good question as well. We've got engineering teams that are looking at underlying stats that I'm not too familiar with, but they are looking at those stats on the latency and all of these things as well to ensure that the agents are doing well. Um, on the other hand, there are certain things that it's hard for us to QA. I think Sophie takes how many 10,000 or 5,000 calls a day. So you can't really be looking at all those calls individually, but we do rely on a lot of feedback from the customer, and we do get that because we provide the recording of the call to the customer. We provide the transcript, so they give us feedback on that. There's a report the call kind of feature there, which comes in, and we analyze that call. We try to see what went wrong, and this AI is a tough space to be in terms of
Yeah.
voice AI, text to speech models. We use 11 labs. It is we're relying on that voice, and then there can be, if there's a small punctuation mistake sometimes, the agent can slur, and there's so many hypotheses that it's really really tough industry to be in, and really tough to troubleshoot as well because sometimes you're looking at it and you're thinking, why is it not working? Everything is set up properly, and then it can be something to do with the agent. But if not with the agent, it can be what comes after the agent, right? Like the agent might have done everything perfectly, but why did the job not get booked in to the Google Calendar. Ah, the calendar sync has a bug, and that's not the agent's fault. But then that's something for us to figure out, for us to troubleshoot in the customer support department. So it is a tough gig, I would say that. But uh, with more and more AI coming in to troubleshoot this, hopefully it's going to get better. But internally as well, we are trying to build another kind of model on top of it, that we are able to determine the emotion of the caller as well. And if we detect a negative emotion with angry voices or abusive behavior, we know something went wrong in that call, so those calls can be flagged to us, and then we can look into the agent setup and see what can be improved there. Of course, at the end of the day, some people are just quite anti-AI still at the moment, so they will not speak to AI. But sometimes it can be a matter of improving the setup so that, yeah, because at the end of the day, it's about emotions, right? Like if you go to regional Australia, people are not very accepting of AI. So then to those clients, to those customers, I tell them in your greeting message, you should say, oh, Rob is busy on a call right now. Can I help you? So then there's some empathy that, okay, this AI agent only picked up because Rob was busy. Whereas if you have a normal message where, hi, I'm Sophie, digital assistant, how can I help you? They get mad thinking, oh, Rob is just trying to, not talk to us. He's too good for us and stuff like that. So it's a very it's very interesting of what type of people are using it. And we also in UK as well, and it's completely different over there. The type of customers we deal with, their style is different. They really want to get on AI quickly. There's more AI acceptance in the UK. So yeah, it's interesting learning all the time.
Do government regulations come in the way? Because I know now this is region to region, country to country. I don't know much about Australia though, but like there are countries in the Europe, Netherlands. I I'm not quoting them, but there are some countries, Netherlands or I think Switzerland, or there are countries that have they're actually pretty anti AI. And so is that like a hurdle or a limitation in Australia or the market that you're trying to break in or dominate?
Um, it is a bit of a block, but it's not as big. Like I don't know about the countries you quoted, and I know that there are countries that are a little bit anti AI, but I wouldn't say Australia is anti AI. Australia is quite pro AI, but um, it really dependent on acceptance within the people, region by region within Australia as well. So that's one thing. But overall, the government policies and all are quite friendly. I know it gets a bit stricter when we go to UK, and it gets way too strict when we go to US. We are not in US right now, but we are about to go into US market, and the regulations and rules there based on each state over there, it's just completely different. So yeah, that's just interesting. But overall, Australia, I'd say, is quite AI friendly.
Last one on this one. Saman, where does this whole category go in 3 years? Is an AI receptionist still a product you go out and buy, or is it just a feature sitting inside all products? Or every product sort of introduces their AI receptionist? So, where do you see the future of Sophie, or in general, the future of voice agents?
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Hamza, what you just said there. Every software will have their own voice agent. That's where it's going towards. That's where we can see it already going. And that's why Sophie decided to become an AI office manager, because we knew that when we started in the industry 2 years ago, we were quite new and we were really good. We were the only one. So we got a lot of traction. But you know that people are going to catch up. And that's the beautiful part about leadership, is that our leadership knew that and already prepared for that. And that's why the product we have today is an office manager, and now people are trying to catch up to that, but then by that time we are going to be one step ahead. And we decided to go more vertical, so that we go into the same, we decide to target a certain industry, and we targeted trade industry because this is like a massive industry. Anthropic did a study recently, and the two industries they said don't have any threat from AI is tradies and agriculture. So we are in the right industry, but we are trying to build something for them that is going to help them out. And I think it will be by building on these features, and the features we are building is really going to really, like, we want to build a product that is actually useful for them, not something that is for vanity, but it's actually integral to their day to day, and that's what we are building towards. We got a recent uh, investment round as well, where we were funded for $5 million with Archangel and other investment, Antler and other investors as well. So we've got that boost. We've got the market. Market backing us as well. So yeah, we are going all in, and what we built in 24 months, especially in the last 6 months, is something outrageous. So with Sophie's future, I see that if we continue with the same speed of building, I think we can be going very deep into our industry, and will be absolutely fantastic.
I want to zoom out from Sophie for a second and talk about the skill underneath all of this. Salman, is AI fluency a technical skill or is it a judgment skill? Because, and practically, how did you get a non technical team to actually use these tools rather than just nod along in the meeting and go back to doing it the old way? So, did you guys face some resistance, or I'm pretty sure challenges must have been there internally too, but tell me a little bit about AI fluency.
So is this for within the company or with our customers?
You can talk about both.
Yeah. So with customers, definitely, it's something new as well. Like we touched on before, for them to give the first line of defense, which is a receptionist, to AI is quite nerving for them. Same internally as well. Like we of course are learning. Um, I think I put up a post on LinkedIn just recently where my boss Luke, he and I were discussing at the beginning of the year. We moved into this office, which you can see. We moved into this office, and we wanted to have like a live sales board, and and we were thinking, okay, what can we get? We're looking at different softwares and this and that, and this was at the beginning of the year, and now we're at a point with Claude that we can just build it, and he built it from scratch, a much better product than what we were looking at in January. So it's also how AI is changing, and then we are adopting to it. And internally in Sophie, we are promoted to experiment with AI. We are told to experiment as much as you can with different tools, of course, maintaining the security part of it, but so that our data is not compromised or anything's not compromised. But we are really encouraged to use AI in whatever we can, to build whatever you can in whatever field. It doesn't matter. It doesn't need to be with engineers or product only. It can be on in customer success. It can be in onboarding. It can be in sales. And all of us here build these small tools on a day-to-day basis to help us out in whatever way it can. And yeah, it's AI fluency. I think Sophie AI is the definition of AI fluency, because we keep up with whatever is out there, and we are encouraged to use that as much as possible.
Speaking of experimentation, let's do the failure side of that. What does over trusting AI look like on a team? Has someone maybe in their experimentation shipped something wrong because the model just sounded confident? Or are there any other stories where you guys tried something? And by the way, this is something, folks. This is something we should be encouraging, because the more you try and play around with these tools, the more you'll be able to learn and be able to build something productive for the society, as well as for other businesses and other industries. So yeah, Salman, any stories where maybe you trusted AI way more than you should have?
Yeah, no, it's a good point. Like, you can trust it to that extent, but internally we've got very like our CTO, very thorough guy. So our team is using Claude. Of course, our engineers are using Claude. Everyone's using Claude, right? But we have guardrails built in. We've got security layers built in, that nothing, PRs being reviewed. There's a proper process that developed for that. I'm not too sure of internally how we're doing that, but anything that is shipped is looked at very thoroughly. So nothing within the product. There, since yeah, has come, you sometimes see a funny thing here or there where Claude has messed up with a button that it wasn't supposed to, and it looks all wonky. But nothing major that would have impacted our customers. Um, but there is small learnings, especially like the engineers now have got their training on Claude. They're watching their videos. They're doing internal trainings. Our head of AI, Tom, he was a senior engineer. Now he's our head of AI. He's using multiple Claude accounts, and he's going through those tokens. But he does these monthly AI workshops as well within the team to explain how to use AI in a good way, and you understand as well then as a day-to-day user. I'm just talking to the customers, but how AI can help me as well. So we have these kind of educational sessions as well, and we do have security built in, and we do have all of the processes to make sure that nothing goes out of hand. Of course, there is the odd things that have happened. We have had hackings into our Facebook account, and who knows, it might have been because of all the permissions we've given to wherever. But overall, I think we've been very good with it. There has been learnings, and I think the learnings come in a sandbox environment where you're trying to do something internally and you pick it up. You've got QA that is picking it up. Everything is internally, but overall, there hasn't been any major, because we are an AI first company anyway. I think we've adopted to it very well.
Amazing. Salman, let's talk about hiring. I know we are millennials, and we've gone through traditional recruitment, the CV, the years of experience, the degree, the structured interview, all of that. Honestly, how much of that actually predicts whether someone's going to be good?
Yeah, not so much anymore. I think in within our hiring as well now, the way we hire. Firstly, we're not hiring that much because now instead of teams, you've got agents working on and helping you. AI is helping you so much that you you don't need to have those traditional big teams. But when we are hiring for people that are eager to build something. That's the main thing. That are using AI tools and are wanting to build something. I think in our last recruitment ad, um, I don't think we even asked for a CV. We just asked for them to show something what they've built in their GitHub or whatever, right? Like just show us their portfolio. Because if you've got the eagerness to build, that means you are thinking, you're a critical thinker, and that's what really you want, because you don't want someone stuck in their old ways. Saying, "Oh, this is how it has been done." I think that's like the least favorite phrase for my boss. He hates that because things were done like that before, but now it's not like that. So you just have to be open to it. So yeah, our recruitment, whenever we do recruit, is more about who's AI first, who's looking to build stuff, and then if they are in, then if we do get them, then that's what their focus is, and usually that is the right person for this sort of environment.
Great. So I want to finish somewhere else entirely. Salman, you've started umpiring, and I remember you captaining the school team. You were the one making the calls. So now you've chosen to be the person everyone shouts at. Why?
No, so my passion for sports. I've loved sports. When I came here to Australia, I did my double masters in marketing and sports management, and ideally I wanted to be in sports, but of course you have to do certain things for your career, for your visas and whatnot in Australia. So went down that path, but yeah, like I love sports, and when I came here, I promised myself that whatever I'm doing, whatever job I'm doing, I'll make sure that I stay connected to sports. And that prompted me to look at umpiring. Did a course, did some face-to-face sessions, and then yeah, I'm umpiring in Gold Coast Great Cricket. And it's like a weekend gig, but it's fun. I get to be close to the sport I like, and I get to be in charge. But of course, as an umpire, my role is not my role is to be invisible. Like when I go on the field, I want to be invisible, that no one talks about me, but doesn't work out that way. But yeah, I just wanted to be close to sports, and in any capacity that I could, and I do enjoy umpiring. But yeah, who knows what it leads to in the future as well. But it also gives you some real life skills of being able to deal with people directly on the spot, making tough calls. And I think that's what it's about as well in your work life as well.
What level are you standing in, and how did you even get into it? I know you talked about certification. So, yeah, like, are there levels to that, to this umpiring thing in Australia and the way Australian
Yeah,
cricket work here?
yeah, with Australia, everything in sports is very well organized. Like when you come here and we've all grown up seeing the Australian cricket team absolutely smashing and dominating, and that's why. And you come here, you understand why, because the way it is set up at grassroots levels, it's absolutely amazing to see. So same with umpiring, well, they've got proper processes, and then you go through it. You become a community umpire, you do a level 2 course, and if you want, if you spend your time, energy, and you actually, are good, you can easily go up the ladder very quickly, be umpiring in Big Bash as well. But of course, as you go deep into it, you need to be giving it more time, and that means your work is impacted. So that's just something where you have to draw a line. But if you do want to, there's absolutely a lot of opportunities. Um, how I came across it was I actually like to umpire when we would be playing on the streets. I'd be the one usually umpiring. I never minded. And then I remember in doing A levels as well. In We had a futsal tournament, and my arm was broken, so I couldn't play.
Yeah,
So I was like, "Cool, I'll referee." So I was refereeing with a broken arm, but I
I
always
remember
enjoyed it,
that.
and yeah, yeah. So I do enjoy it. So it wasn't like people do say to me like, "How are you standing there for 80 overs, man? So boring." This I'm like, well, I love the sport. I've watched cricket. I've played cricket all my life, and I get the front row ticket for it. I've umpired some great games. I'm umpired junior cricket as well, and I love umpiring junior cricket because it's really fulfilling. Like when you go in and you're part of the ecosystem that is helping cricket to stay on course in Australia, right? Like all these junior cricketers, some of these gems that you see will probably go on to represent Australia in the future. And yeah, you see them, the passion they play with, and you really enjoy it. You don't even feel the time going through, unless it's a 40-degree day. You feel it, but apart from that, like yeah, I don't mind it.
Last question. A 20-year-old comes to you, doesn't have a clue how the world works, no plan, no network, no idea what they're doing, which, let's be honest, I mean, roughly where I've been, probably you've been at some point. What do you tell them?
Oh, I tell them to be first thing to be a decent human being. I feel like I've come across so many different type of people, and I think the first thing is if you've got the right intention and you're a good person, that's just that's just the basic thing that you need to have. After that, it really depends on what your passion is, right? And finding passion is really important, as you know very well with our generation, we've been kind of forced to do something by our parents, by saying you have to go in this line, that line. I think that kind of thing doesn't really resonate with me. I think whatever you're passionate about, you should try to go into it as much as you can. So if you are a 20-year-old, you've done a let's say you've done a bachelor's degree in business because you thought it was the right thing to do, you've still got so much time ahead of you that you can decide whatever you want to do. It's just about finding your passion. There's always something you are going to be very confident about or very passionate about. So you just need to pursue that. It sounds quite cliched, but it's just you have to find that passion, because if you are just waking up to do a job or do something in a day just to make just to earn some money and then just going back to sleep and not living with any sort of motivation, then it's not going to work out long term for you. So you need to be passionate about it. You need to have goals, and then go for it. Go for whatever you're passionate about. Just go all in, and then try your best in it.
Salman, thank you. That was so damn insightful, interesting. And I mean, I really mean that as a compliment. If people want to find you or find out what Sophie actually does, where should they go?
Yeah, well, absolutely. You can just find me on LinkedIn, and then if you want to know what Sophie AI is doing, just go to the website Sophie.ai. But you'll always see on social media as well the fun stuff we're doing, and also if you're in Australia, hopefully I'm hoping you call a tradie and you come across Sophie and get a live demo of Sophie as well.
Great. That's the episode, guys. Thanks for listening. And Salman, hopefully, we're going to have you again for more Sophie related updates if your schedule allows. Thank you, guys. Hopefully, we'll have another guest. And that was it for today. Thank you so much.